Brother Victor J, Master Zheng Yin, Masters at the above, and Siji family all around the world. Good day to all of you. My name is Victor J. My Dharma name is Jiyong. My name is Janet Yao. My Dharma name is Ya. So we bring a different topic to share with you every month, but all of our stories have to do with sharing love around the world. And so today's sharing is going to be about stories of using love to safeguard kindness or actions of kindness. So this year, on the fifth day of the first month of the lunar calendar, there is this day of welcoming the god of wealth, if you will. And there was an event for honorary or for donors of Shijing, a New Year's event. And the focus of the event, or the main activity of the event, was to collect what we called puzzle pieces or donation pledges to create a puzzle of love in support of the wildfire disaster victims in the US and Southern California. And from that event, we were actually able to collect more than 23 million new Taiwan dollars in donations to support victims. So these fires began on January 7th in the US. You may well have heard of them. They became extremely big wildfires with a lot of impact. But as soon as the disasters happened, the city volunteers quickly jumped into action. Amongst other things, at the El Monte office, Tzu volunteers set up a gathering place or a place of refuge for Tzu community members. So for folks who were evacuated, or folks who maybe lost power or otherwise, they had a place to come for refuge. Some of the other things that Tzu volunteers did was reach out directly to the community. For example, going to the homes of either Tzu volunteers or community members who have trouble with mobility and giving them care packages. We also had masters at the abode personally calling and reaching out to some or to some volunteers as well, and also supporting a lot of these care packages with a lot of these Jingsi products. One of the Shiji volunteers on this slide right here, she actually her name is Sister Wu Ruzhen. She actually lost her home in this fire. This was a home that she lived in for 44 years. And yet, despite losing her home, she actually came to the Disaster Recovery Center to support other disaster victims. So how was it that despite her own troubles, her losing her own home, she was still able to help others? So let's hear her share. She's sharing here that I feel like for me, this is changing my perspective. I didn't want to keep being down about my own circumstances. I wanted to instead step out into the community and with my own experiences, help a lot of these other victims who I know feel so helpless. And some of the victims might think, oh, well, you don't understand my circumstances. And I can say, well, let me show you my home. And then they'll understand that you also have gone through these circumstances and you understand what we're going through. And in this way, I can connect with them further and further help them to understand how Tzu can help them. And yet, in doing so and helping others, I also felt that I was helping myself through the trauma that I myself felt. Through helping others, I felt that I was able to really bring myself out of this trauma. Now, many, many different organizations were involved in providing disaster relief, including various religious organizations. And so a number of these religious organizations on January 11th initiated a interfaith alliance for the community to both pray and to fundraise in support of disaster victims. So there were Dharma masters, there were pastors, and other religious leaders coming together to collectively pray for the disaster to quickly subside and for those affected by the disaster to heal and to recover. Now, on this slide, we can see that in the temporary shelter that Siji had set up, we had also shown uh, we had we were able to display to the other community members and the other organizations the resources that Siji had set up to support disaster victims. Now, on January 14th, Tsuji began joining the operations at the Disaster Recovery Center. There were two disaster recovery centers in the Los Angeles area, one on the east side, one on the west side. Um, and Tsuji, by invitation, participated in these operations, supporting with registration for disaster relief victims, registering these victims so that they later had the opportunity to receive various forms of support. January 18th, Tsuji actually held our first disaster relief distribution for the disaster victims. Um, so folks who were affected by the fire were able to come and receive emergency financial assistance in the form of uh, cash debit cards, as well as a number of other resources, including food, clothes, shoes, blankets, toiletries, etc. And in this distribution, there were volunteers from all over North America. There were volunteers from Canada, from Northern California, from even the East Coast in the US. Everyone came together to support this distribution and these events. Um, we even had the Tsuji Mobile Clinic for Vision and Eye Care from New York come to support as well. Um, so really, we could see that the support was very, very widespread. So we'll go through a couple of different examples here. Um, we see in the New York Long Island Tsuji Academy, they also had a fundraising event where everybody in the school participated. In the Walnut Tsuji Academy campus in Southern California, um, whether it was teachers or students, more than 300 people in the New Year blessing ceremony also collectively brought home bamboo banks to contribute to fundraising. In New Jersey, you could see that there was this event held outside of a church where multiple different religious organizations came together to fundraise. And in Northern California too, there were a number of events that we hosted as well, including businesses that were already supporting Tsuji, such as by hosting bamboo banks in their businesses. We reached out to these businesses, and some of the examples of businesses that helped in other ways were the Bliss and Wisdom Foundation of North America and the Preferred Bank, who each contributed donations specific to this disaster as well. So Dharma Master Zheng Dharma Master Zheng shared that the US is a land with great international influence. And when things happen in the US, there are implications globally. So as we are helping, um, or as we are supporting folks who were affected in this disaster, we really have to make sure that we make a big impact. Um, whether it's Tsuji volunteers in the US or in Taiwan, we have to act with virtue. And in taking action, grow our own character and expand our own virtue. And in this way, let us create merits and create virtue for all. In Taiwan, there were a lot of activities in support of this time's wildfires as well. So, for example, in the Songsan district, a lot of volunteers and family members and community members came together to pray uh, and to fundraise, and fundraised more than 5 million New Taiwan dollars in donations. In Jiayi County, a lot of Tsuji volunteers also brought in their bamboo banks to share contributions and donations in support of folks who were affected by the disaster as well. Another example were students of the physical therapy program at Tsuji University who were in the US for, I think, an internship program. And This was while the wildfires were happening, and so they also went directly to the events to help. And otherwise, Shijing University also held fundraising events all around campus. Um, Across the US, there were also daily prayer sessions, both in the afternoon and in the evening, uh, for US community members to all come together and collectively pray. This was also around the time of the Lunar New Year. So, in a way, we were bringing the blessings and the comforts of the New Year to a lot of these victims as well. Okay. So, one particular example of the volunteers that I really want to call out is the Deputy Executive Director of the Northern California Tzu chapter. His name is Jing. He really played such an important role in supporting the disaster victims this time. And so he's from Northern California, but he went to Southern California to support the wildfire disaster relief efforts. He himself has had a lot of experience supporting wildfire disaster relief efforts in Northern California. And while he was in Southern California this time, you could see through his schedule. He woke up at 5 o'clock every morning, had a very simple breakfast, and then would be out all day to support disaster relief efforts until maybe as late as 11 p.m. at night. So you could really see um, the spirit of his dedication and his diligence through his activities. And Dharma Master Tsung Yin described Brother Mingjing in this way. His diligence is like water, and in softness there is strength. Okay. So really, through this disaster, we can see uh, the importance of all of us coming together to act in kindness. Dharma Master Tsung Yin has reminded us in the past that the U.S. must awaken for the world to be at peace. And we cannot stop natural disasters, but there are many things that we need to do to create the circumstances in the world that natural disasters can be uh, can be uh, reduced. And amongst these things, they include adopting a plant-based diet and praying with sincere hearts. Yep. So through these stories, we hope you can see um, great love being shared around the world through the examples of the wildfires in Southern California this time and all of the disaster relief efforts and community members across the world coming together to support those who were affected. Okay. So I missed the first part of this, but I believe these monthly sessions have been held for around 5 years now, beginning in 2020 April. So, of course, many thanks to Sister Janet and Brother Victor. So, online, there are many comments coming in from listeners thanking, again, Sister Janet and Brother Victor for today's session. Sounds like during the sharing earlier, there were two younger volunteers who had come uh, to the study group. And so Sister Megan was welcoming them. This next session, we're going to move to our